My name is Schaaffhausen-Teo and this is Strangely Familiar, my Project One presentation for DTB403. The following presentation details my investigation into Pita Pit, a fast food venue located on Adelaide Street, and the dialectic relationship between the location and its occupants. This space was chosen due to a desire to better understand the inner workings of a busy hospitality venue located within a largely corporate area of the Brisbane CBD. Furthermore, as a current employee of the venue, I was interested to see whether characteristics of the space had an impact on how the customers behaved. In terms of the study's methodology, the study was conducted over a series of days, wherein half-hour observations were made within the environment. The study was non-contact, so as not to disturb the occupants within the site, which helped ensure that data gleaned from this experiment was based on their natural and honest interactions. Observational days and times were chosen in order to capture a greater range of different interactions within the space. For example, observations held during times of peak traffic were conducted, as well as some during hours that were less busy. The following analysis of common behaviours observed inside Pita Pit is structured in 3 phases, based on the order of rituals customers undergo when ordering food at this particular fast food venue. One of the most common behaviours exhibited by customers during Phase 1, particularly those observed to be new, was their perceived lack of confidence when roaming the space. Many seemed to pause to read the signage at the front of the shop and then slowly move into the space, all the while pivoting their head around to look at the various menus placed on the shop walls. These customers also hesitated when approaching the ordering area and spent a bit of time looking back at the menu while stating their order, often asking clarifying questions and taking lengthy amounts of time to reach the payment stage. One of Pita Pit's main characteristics is the sheer amount of signage that decorates the exterior and interior. In order to convey their status as a health-oriented fast food shop, bright colours have been used in the logo and continued in the shop's interior decoration, the menu screens, specials advertisements, and directive signage. In combination with this, the shop itself is quite small, roughly 6 by 10 metres squared. These small dimensions can be quite restrictive, even if it's only occupied by a few people, and can act to concentrate the visual stimuli within the space. As a result, the environmental load is incredibly high, intense, and complex, leaving viewers visibly confused. Furthermore, this large amount of visual information makes it difficult to discern markers for where you should stand. Many fast food shops and cafes tend to have an associated ordering ritual, where you make your order, wait for it or customize it, and then collect the finished product at the end. As a result, there tends to be a common, recognizable floor plan layout. Whilst Pita Pit's floor plan does not stray far from this layout, the lack of markers in the open space, such as a rope line or arrows on the ground, undermines the environmental legibility of the space. While there is hanging signage indicating where to order, they can be difficult to spot as they contain the same bright green and yellow colours as the wall. As a result, customers tend to take extra time figuring out where they should stand, especially customers who are visiting for the first time. A highly common behaviour that was noticed amongst customers was how they lined up. Quite often, many individuals would move away from the ordering station and then slowly wander around the room, sometimes making their way to the end of the next line, or sometimes finding a spot that was devoid of people and standing there until their name was called by the server. Some individuals in the latter group would express surprise when their name was called, as they were then expected to make their way to a completely different location in the room. This may be due to the positioning of the serving area, which is located at the rear of the space. It spans the entire length of the room and is therefore immediately within one's line of sight as they enter the shop. Whilst this positioning should theoretically make it easier to navigate the space, under crowded conditions, visibility of the bench and where to line up can be obscured. And as stated before, the intense sensory load evoked from the bright interior colours and small room size can lead to a further distortion of the space. Another interesting observation made involved certain individuals exhibiting introverted, antisocial behaviours whilst waiting in line. These behaviours included scrolling through one's phone, having one's arms folded or hands in one's pockets, keeping one's eyes focused on the walls, and the lack of verbal communication with other customers. Furthermore, many of these individuals tended to gather around the edges of the room, keeping clear of the centre. This behaviour may be triggered by the ordering process, which involves verbally communicating your order to the employee at the sandwich station and then later finalising that order at the collection counter. By the end of their order, any one customer talks to 3 servers in the span of roughly 1 to 5 minutes. Furthermore, due to the open plan nature of the space, sound travels easily. As a result, depending on the amount of people within the room, it can be difficult to state your order without it being heard by other customers. Whilst Pita Pit is indeed a public space, food can be a subject that many feel is a private matter. As a result, the rituals held within this space may feel quite intrusive or confronting to people who are more introverted and would rather not discuss their order in such an open environment. One of the most common observations made, particularly amongst regular customers, were individuals making physical contact with the sneeze glass as they were ordering. This included tapping fingers on the glass, resting their arms on top of it, and sometimes reaching over it to point at the salad bar underneath. This could have links to psychosocial aspects of the space's inhabitants, as extroverted characters may see the small, transparent barrier as an invitation to be more comfortable within the space. This could be further enhanced by the emotive aspects of the space, as servers are generally encouraged to make friendly conversation with customers. However, some may adopt a more physical way of communicating due to the room's poor acoustics, which become poorer as the room becomes more crowded or when traffic outside becomes busier. Customers who had to repeat their orders verbally and physically point at the salads they wanted often showed visible signs of discomfort afterwards. Some looked down at their phones while not being engaged in conversation, others shuffled their feet, and some made sure to stand far away from other customers. This may indicate that those who are more introverted in nature may be attempting to overcome a lapse in communication. One common behavior customers exhibited whilst eating their food was the placing of bags, drink bottles, notebooks, and other belongings on tables and chairs. This behavior generally occurred whilst an individual was already seated outside. However, this behavior sometimes occurred early in the ordering process, where a few customers placed their order at the counter, walked over to a table, placed an item of theirs onto it, and then walked back inside to complete their order. This behavior relates to psychosocial theories relating to territoriality, as some studies suggest that individuals generally place their belongings in a strategic manner, so as to signal to others that they have claimed or personalized a segment of this public space. Another behavior that further relates to the idea of personalizing public space is customers rearranging individual tables into formations that can seat more than 4 people. This may be due to the fact that the tables outside are generally arranged into a sociopedal arrangement. Furthermore, these tables are short, square-shaped pedestal tables, which are easy to maneuver and tessellate within the open outside space. This can be compared to the 2 tables sitting inside, which are very high and are nestled into the gap between the wall and open front doors, signalling that they are not to be moved. After undertaking this analysis, it's become clear that Pita Pit has a few spatial characteristics which tend to prompt negative reactions from its inhabitants. Realistically speaking, issues pertaining to the space's interior decoration can't really be altered due to Pita Pit belonging to a food chain, which has its own regulations in terms of branding and products offered. Furthermore, the space, like most food venues, is subject to workplace health and safety laws and rental agreements, which places some limitations on what can be done to the size and arrangement of the space. However, there are still amendments that can be made to make being within the space more positive and comfortable. For example, changes to the ordering service so that there is less contact between the server and the customer may make the ordering process less confronting to introverted individuals. This could be done by having more customers fill out their orders online, which allows them to specify their entire order through an online app, which is then picked up at a certain time. In order to aid wayfinding within the space, white arrows could be painted onto the floor, pointing towards the different service counters and showing customers where to queue. Hanging arrows already in the space could be changed to a more readable white and black color scheme so that they contrast with the red and green walls and become more visible to the customer. Something that could be undertaken to enhance Pita Pit's sensory environment would be placing a portable, vertical garden within the space. Whilst this may seem a little unconventional for a fast food space, bringing in a little bit of nature into an otherwise overwhelming, cramped space could enhance Pita Pit's aesthetic and olfactory experience. Furthermore, by covering a section of a wall with plants, this could help absorb some of the sound emitted from nearby cars and customers, helping to reduce the overstimulating nature of the space.